Well, round 7 of the A-League men's has been wrapped up, and it certainly was entertaining. We had a New Zealand derby, Auckland winning that. A big win for Melbourne City on the road. Melbourne Victory continued their good form, and Mariners picking up an important 3 points against Sydney FC. We're going to discuss all 6 games over the next hour or so. So much to discuss. The A-League round recap live is returned after a few weeks away. Thanks for joining us live on YouTube and also available in podcast form as well. We're going to go through in a chronological order because there's so much to discuss. But I do want to start with Friday night because I thought this result and this performance from Melbourne City was so impressive. This is a side who have sort of been struggling a little bit for consistency, Melbourne City. That loss last week against Western Sydney Wanderers, which was a bit of a surprise. But I tell you what, 4-1 for City over Brisbane Roar. Incredible for City. They were absolutely fantastic. And for Brisbane Roar, I mean, there's a lot sort of that needs to be improved. Basically, every aspect of their game they sort of need to improve on. Defensively, going forward in attack, it's just not quite clicking at the moment for Brisbane Roar. So we're going to have a bit of a discussion in terms of maybe what can Ruben Zakovic do differently with this team, because there are some exciting players there, that's for sure. We've got Owen in the live chat. We back. That's right, Owen. AFC Brady is in here in the live chat as well. Says, Coast, bro, you guys won against Sydney. That's right. I've literally just got home from the game. Sunday evening here. And yeah, very, very happy Mariners fan here winning against our rivals, Sydney FC. I know Newcastle Jets are our main rivals, but it was a great 3 points as well. Sam dropping his thoughts on the New Jets game against Adelaide United. We will be discussing that very shortly as well. So in terms of this game, Brisbane Roar 1, Melbourne City 4. Fast start for Melbourne City man Andreas Kuhn opening the scoring within the first minute. Very nicely taken goal. Brisbane Roar with sort of, I mean, we're looking at the formation here on Google. It was more of just a sort of a 4-4-2, if you like. Berenguer just playing in behind Tom Worthington. And look, Zakovic, to his credit, has been sort of, experimenting a little bit, tweaking the lineup, trying to find the right setup, but especially defensively, it feels so disorganized at the moment. The centre-back partnership for Brisbane in this game was Scotty Neville and Ben Warland. And look, you got two experienced defenders there, two experienced A-League defenders. But they just need something different at the moment. For Kranis, hasn't featured in the A-League so far this season, whether he comes back from injury. But yeah, that defense was just falling apart way too easily. Andreas Kuhn in the first minute. Jonathan Cohen, scoring in the 18th and 70th minute as well. Some fantastic strikes from him. Ugarkovic grabbing the 4th in the 82nd minute. JSA did have that penalty in the second half. And he was, again, their best player. And this is the problem. It's like JSA is always Brisbane's best player. No one else is really stepping up. Yes, Tom Waddingham has scored a few goals this season. And, he's always dangerous when he gets the opportunity. But he was so quiet in this game. He barely got a chance. And that's not necessarily his fault. He's just not necessarily receiving the service that he needs, which is surprising because you got good creative players around him with Berenguer, with Jelacic and O'Shea. So it's tricky to sort of, what's sort of missing there for Brisbane Roar, especially in the final third as well. Look, for Melbourne City, this was seriously impressive. And if they can put in performances like this consistently this season, they could well and truly turn to one of the top teams this year. Not a lot of expected of Melbourne City this season necessarily. I think a lot of people sort of expecting them to finish sort of mid-table, maybe contesting for one of those spots at the sort of the bottom end of the top 6. But they were very, very good in this game and still missing some top players. So, if they get the likes of Lecky back and then maybe Tilio back soon, yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great for them, that's for sure. 4-1 for Melbourne City, an impressive performance. We are going through all of the games here through round 7. Plenty to talk about. We're going to jump into the New Zealand derby in just a moment. Thank you for everyone who's tuning in here on the live stream. Greatly appreciate it. If you want to hit the like button, drop your thoughts on this weekend's matches in the live chat here as well. So Auckland 2, Wellington Phoenix 1. It was the second New Zealand derby of the season and another win for Auckland FC in the derby, and just another win overall. I mean, this is quite incredible what we're seeing here with Auckland FC. They are just incredible. They're just incredible. They're unstoppable. I legitimately don't know if Auckland FC are going to lose a game at this rate. They are they are playing so well that defensively so good. And look, we should mention conceding their first goal of the season, which was a huge, huge moment. And you could see the defense; they were frustrated, man, because so many games just clean sheet, clean sheet, clean sheet, and finally they conceded, and it was Costa Barbarouses who had that one chance right at the end, the 82nd minute, and grabbed the goal. But the 2 goals for Auckland proved the difference in the end. The own goal in the first half, great sort of setup there from Hiroki Sakai and Nando Painaka, who has been arguably the best centre back in the league this season. He's already got 2 goals this season and has been an integral part to those Auckland FC clean sheets. Fantastic. And he grabbed the second goal, which proved the winner in the end. But look, Wellington Phoenix, they came in with that game plan. They set up very well defensively. And Auckland did struggle to sort of penetrate many times throughout the game. But Phoenix didn't really have much going forward for much of this match. Costa Barbarouses was really nullified by the likes of Dan Hall and Painaka. It did finally get that opportunity. And that's what Costa Barbarouses brings. He's the kind of player where you get a good ball over the top and he's away. He more often than not, he scores. More often than not, he scores. Hey. AFC Brady in the live chat says, I reckon an Auckland versus Melbourne City grand final. I'll tell you what, I mean, at this rate, surely Auckland are going to be in the grand final. Like, they're definitely favourites for the premiership. I know we're only 7 rounds into the competition, but my goodness me, this team is incredible, and they will be surely contesting for the very top at the end. I'm curious to see Auckland come up against some of these Melbourne teams, like Melbourne Victory and Melbourne City. I was impressed with the way they handled Sydney FC, who I think are a top team. But yeah, man. Yeah. Blizz in here in the chat. Blizz Football says Auckland have left New Zealand once. They not all that, but will finish top 3 comfortably. Yeah, it will be interesting to see how they handle some of the away days. They did travel to Sydney, of course, for Unite Round a few weeks ago and defeated Macarthur FC. But yeah, traveling to Amy Park to take on, Melbourne Victory. That'll be interesting for some of those longer trips. Yeah, I'm very fascinated to see how Auckland go. That's for sure. But look, Wellington Phoenix, disappointing for them to pick up another loss. Not too much. I mean, you can't really fault them in this game. They did set up with a decent game plan, but Auckland FC at home, I mean, who's going to beat them? Especially with that crowd. Look, we should mention as well, fantastic crowd. What was it? Over 26,000. Awesome stuff. Ashton says that Victory versus Auckland will be the game of the century. Yeah, I mean, speaking of like potential A-League grand finals, I mean, Victory Auckland. I mean, that could... I could certainly see that being a possibility, that's for sure. Look, another win for Auckland as we have a quick look at the ladder here. They, of course, are well and truly top of the table. Melbourne Victory just behind them with 2 points. It's a bit tricky reading the table at the moment, considering that some teams have played 6 games, some teams have played 7 at this stage. Of course, with the buys, as we know, which isn't ideal, but it is what it is. And Auckland FC are cruising on top of the ladder. But Melbourne Victory are certainly just behind, especially with a win earlier today against Perth Glory. But I tell you what, the table is certainly starting to take shape. We will discuss sort of how it stands at the moment towards the end of this episode. But we've got plenty more action to talk about across round 7. Thanks to everyone who's tuning in here live on YouTube. And we've got 4 more games to talk about. G'day to Timmy. Timmy says Adelaide has been good. I tell you what, let's talk about the Reds. They defeated Newcastle Jets 1-0. The Jets were hosting just their 2nd game of the season. So it was a long wait between home games for Newcastle. Adelaide just too good in the end. 14th minute goal for Stefan Mork. Ben Falami red card in the second half. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But disappointing for the Jets, who again were just lacking. I mean, look. In attack, especially, this game was like just the exact same of what we saw, way back in round 1. If you guys remember when Newcastle Jets lost 1-0 to Melbourne City, and Melbourne City had a player sent off as well, and Newcastle Jets just had all the ball at the very end and were pushing, and just they weren't necessarily creating like clear-cut opportunities. Like in the Adelaide goal, James Delianov wasn't necessarily tested all that much. Owen mentions here Lockie Rose, big chance missed. Look, those are great to see for Jets fans, Lockie Rose starting. He provides something different up top, and he got the start. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, in terms of that striker position as well, it's going to be interesting to see sort of what Robbie Stanton does going forward. Like, is it Rose? Is it Ben Gibson? Justin Vidic is in the conversation. Wellersol, what sort of role does he play? He came off the bench, and I think he was sort of playing it out the wing. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Sam in the live chat here, great to see you as always. Sam is a passionate Jets fan. Sam here in the live chat says, "Don't even get me started about this game. I genuinely want to know why the Jets can't play basic football. Like, we can't even get a shot on Heck. Shot on Heck. I assume you mean shot on target. We can't even put passes together. It's annoying for me." Yeah, dude. I mean, if you're a Jets fan, yeah, you'd be. I'm not surprised you're frustrated. It's especially, as I mentioned, towards the end there, as they were pushing, chasing an equaliser, they weren't necessarily creating those quality opportunities, testing James Delianov. And it just feels like, I don't know who they're missing. I mean, they've got good players there. Like Eli Adams is someone who can create. Clayton Taylor, I think, is a very, very exciting player. He had a great season last time around. Thomas Aquilina, again, playing in this sort of advanced wide role. I think he operates better as a fullback. He's sort of, bombing on, down the wing. Get another attacking player in the sort of the final third there. But hey, I'm just a spectator. And Adelaide United, we should mention for them as well, undefeated so far. Very impressive start to the season for Adelaide United. Stefan Moore, very good in this game, got the goal. The Ben Falami red card. What do you guys think of it? What do you guys think of it? The Ben Falami red card, because that was certainly a controversial one. Sam here as well says even when they got the red card, even though it's 11 v 10, it's basically still 11 v 11 since it doesn't make a difference. We don't utilize the advantage. No wonder why Rob Stanton said what he said in the press conference, says Sam. Yeah, it was interesting. Hey, for those that didn't see it, Rob Stanton was sort of that apparently there was look, I didn't say anything, but apparently there was some Jets players had a bit of an altercation. I don't know what happened. Something was mentioned about that. I'm not sure exactly. If someone can fill us in, let us know. But Rob Stanton was sort of saying that his players sort of need like a little bit of fight, like a little bit of. He was sort of, I'm paraphrasing, but he was sort of saying that they're being like a bit too nice to each other. They need to have a bit more sort of grit, a bit more fight, a bit more of that spirit. And I mean, you can agree with him, right? Maybe they're just lacking that little bit of, I don't know, aggression, a little bit of urgency. It was a little bit slow for them as well, building, a little bit slow, building, as they were chasing that goal there. It was just far too slow as well. John here, in regards to that red card decision, says the cameras are everywhere. There are cameras everywhere. Players should know that. Keep your hands to yourself. Yeah, look, I saw like a lot of comments online of people disputing the red card and saying that it was soft. I mean, hands to the face is always running the risk, right? I thought when I saw it, I thought it was a red card. I think the hands would definitely make contact with Philip Cancar's face. So I don't think Ben Falami can have many complaints. Adelaide United weren't happy with it, but it like has to be a red card, right? Has to be a red card. Brady here in the live chat reckons it was a red. Complaining Sydney FC supporter here in the live chat joining us tonight says, I don't think it was a red. It's I can see how like some people think it was soft because like they're looking at the incident, there wasn't really much in it. The contact, like Cancar was fine. Cancar got straight back up. It wasn't like it hurt him or anything. But they had a bit of a tumble, and Ben Falami sort of, I guess, rakes sort of the fingers across the face of Cancar. And yeah, you always run the risk. So yeah, man. Yeah. Look, another big win for Adelaide United, who, as mentioned, have had a great start to the season, dude. They're certainly proving me wrong. I didn't tip them to be one of the front runners this season, but they're well and truly up there. Western United nil, Macarthur SC nil. Neither team able to make a breakthrough in this game. We are going through all of the games in round 7. Great to see you guys here. Hit the like button, support the channel. Thanks for joining us on our round 7 recap. Look, for Western United, probably from the Green and Black's point of view, disappointed not to win this game. Again, just a quick glance at the stats: 21 shots to Macarthur's 9. Macarthur did have more possession, but for Western, those 21 shots, just a 5 on target. Look, Ibasuki's made a decent start to the season, as has Noah Botic, but they were unable to break past Philip Curto. So for Western United, they'll be disappointed. I think they didn't manage to grab a result from this game. And for Macarthur FC, I mean, we were sort of expecting goals in this game too. I think my prediction for this game heading into this week, in my predictions video earlier in the week, was 2-2. I think we expected a bit of an entertaining matchup. And look, it was interesting from the Bulls. They did sort of change up a couple of things. Ollie Jones came in at the back. Tommy Uscock was dropped to the bench, which was an interesting call. But look, they managed to keep a clean sheet there, Macarthur FC, which was important after they conceded 4 last week against Brisbane. Owen here, who is a Macarthur FC fan, of course, says, Macarthur, the most consistent team of all time. 1 week we score 4, and we can't defend. The week after, we can't score, but defend. It's really frustrating. We have to find a way to be consistent. I assume, when you're saying there, sorry, inconsistent, the most inconsistent team there. The inconsistency is hurting a lot of teams, not just Macarthur FC. We could say the same things about Sydney FC, probably about Mariners as well, about Melbourne City, about Wanderers. There's probably a lot of teams who they've brushed off the cobwebs now. We're 7 rounds into the season. This is where it really starts to, teams really, get going, and we get a good idea of sort of how they're playing and how they're going. But yeah, especially like after that, Macarthur FC, there was a lot of hype around the Bulls heading into this season, winning the Australia Cup, defeating Perth Glory 6-1 on the opening weekend. That was a huge statement, and we thought, oh my goodness, okay, this team's gonna really tear it up this season. But yeah, they've just struggled for inconsistency since then, hey? Okay. So look, a 0-0 draw here. I think both teams will take it. It's an important point on the road for Macarthur SC. Western United disappointed not to get the 3 points in the end, especially considering that, look, Western United, I wasn't crash hot on them heading into this season, but they've been doing okay so far. They've been picking up points, that's for sure. Great to see everyone tuning in the live chat here on YouTube. Tarnley says, will this Auckland FC, will they have like an invincible season? I tell you what, like it's hard to picture them losing at home. I'll say that much. It's hard to see them losing at home, Auckland FC. They've been so good in all their games. And especially, look, if that home support, if they stay strong the whole season, dude, like they play a massive factor. Like it was great scenes on the weekend watching the Port. It was certainly fantastic watch. Timmy says Dan Hall's having a good year. He's been great as well for Auckland FC. Hey, we're going to talk about Sunday's fixtures. Of course, I've just gotten home from the Mariners game against Sydney FC, so I wasn't able to catch Victory 2, Perth Glory 0. But it's another win for Melbourne Victory. Zinedine Machash scoring in the first half, Traore grabbing a second in the second half, and Perth Glory, another loss for them. Let's have a look at the stats here. And my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, let's just take a moment here to appreciate these statistics coming from Google. 25 shots for Melbourne Victory, the home team, 8 on target, 69% possession. Perth Glory had 2 shots. 2. Look, that's surely going to be the lowest for this season. That's the lowest I've seen from any A-League team for some time. I wonder when the last time we've seen a team, have less than 3 shots in a game. 2 shots. Both of those were on target, but 2 shots across 90 minutes. I mean, this just sums up disastrous start to the season that Perth Glory have had. They had a disastrous end to last season. They go through a huge rebuild, bringing so many new players. David Zrilich coming in. And it's the same problems, if not worse. This team is so uninspiring to watch. And there's serious problems everywhere. And for Perth Glory fans, I read the comments on Perth Glory social media, and the blame is being pointed all over the place, and it's tricky to see where this team is going to go from here. There is no sense that they are going to turn this season around. We are so early on, but there is no sense that Perth Glory are going to turn the season around and be a competitive team this year. There's no sense. Ashton says Victory should have scored 7. Victory should have scored 7. Mark is here as well. Thanks for joining us in the live chat. Says Rilich has one game to turn it around. If not, he's gone, and Perth should go for Berisha. That would be interesting. I tell you what, I don't know if Perth Glory would want Bessa Berisha with what transpired in the 2012 A-League Grand Final. That's for sure. Marcus as well says 1 shot each half. Look, it's just incredible, isn't it? I mean, 2 shots across 90 minutes. It's just, dude, it's just incredible, isn't it? It's just incredible. Blues Football in the chat here. Thanks for joining us as well tonight. Says problem is Victory. All their attackers are creators and not goal scorers. We create so many chances, but hit and miss with the finishing. I mean, like, you got Nikos Virgos who's grabbed a couple of goals this season. I mean, you are right, Blizz. There are a lot of creative players there. Starting for Melbourne Victory tonight was Santos on the right-hand side, Machash through the middle, and Alzani on the left. On the bench for Melbourne Victory, they did have Reno Piscopo who came on, Jing Reese and Fornaroli, the other attacking players as well. Of course, Valupale still out with injury. So plenty of creative players there for Victory, that is for sure. And yeah, I mean, Victory were always going to win this game too. Hey, I mean, we just look at the teams on paper, and yeah, they certainly should have. My prediction was 4-0. They got the 2-0 in the end. Owen here says Perth should have conceded 7 or 8, and Perth is the definition of why we should have relegation. Yeah, I mean, look, we often have it now where each season there is 1 or 2 teams who really, really do struggle and lose almost every week, and yeah, it's a tricky time to be a Perth Glory fan, that's for sure. Blizz here says Piscopo not starting over Santos is weird as well. Santos was awful today. Yeah, I mean, I think that'd be, especially having Arzani and Piscopo in those wide areas, they're 2 very dangerous players. Yeah, Santos provides something different, very pacey player as well. Hey, look, this Perth Glory team, dude, like, in terms of, look, is it David Zrilich? Is it the recruitment? I know Stan Lazaridis has been heavily involved in the recruitment. Is it just the players that they've got? The problem, I think what I'm noticing a lot from Perth Glory, if you look at sort of the first 7 rounds here, is that they've been shopping and changing their lineup quite a lot. Defensively, they're sort of stuck with, Lockie Barr and Kanga have been the 2 centre-back, the 2 central defenders. This season, I mean, Cameron Cook has been starting. Ollie Sales dropped out in terms of the goalkeeper position. Of course, Adam Taggart leading the line, but especially those wide areas has been chopping and changing. Almost the problem is with Perth Glory is that they made so many signings. Like, if you look back to the transfer window videos that we did earlier on, and going through the transfers of all the teams across the league, and Perth Glory were the busiest team by far. They let so many players go, and they brought in so many players. And it's almost a situation of they've brought in so many players, such a variety of players, which is exciting. You're probably excited if you're a Glory fan, thinking, "Oh, look at all these exciting players! Some players from NPL level who look really exciting as well. Some younger guys with a lot of potential." But they seemingly haven't brought in any real players of real quality, of real proven quality, and that's maybe what they're lacking at the moment. Look, nothing against some of these young, exciting players. Quad Go started in this game. Adam Bagaria as well. I know Abdul Faisal hasn't featured for the last few weeks. I mean, Anasmo came off the bench as well. Nathaniel Blair, we know, is a promising young striker as well. It might be a few weeks still until this team sort of really starts competing, starts picking up some goals. Look, we shouldn't forget they drew 2-2 with Adelaide last week. But I mean, another thing that we noticed as well, especially for like that first goal, the Machash goal, which I did see, is the way they were opened up in midfield. I mean, structurally, I don't know what's going on there. I mean, that if you look at a lot of the goals Perth Glory can see, they just sort of get blown apart, and you just think, where is the system? Where is the shape? It just seems too easy for opposition teams. Blizz says, I feel so sorry for Taggart. He's being starved up top and way too good to be in this Perth side. It would be so good to have him at Victory over Virgos. Dude, I tell you, dude, if Adam Taggart was at Melbourne Victory, he would score 50 goals this season. I'm telling you right now. Look, Adam Taggart was great last season. He obviously won the Golden Boot, was scoring goals for fun, despite Perth Glory overall having a poor season. But yeah, it's like almost like the difference this time around is like Perth Glory just lacking the creativity. They're lacking the creativity. The Adam Taggart's just getting starved of opportunities. And look, it's nothing wrong with Adam Taggart. He scored 2 goals last week against Adelaide. You give him the chance, he scores. He's arguably the best finisher in the competition. But yeah, I mean, you really feel for him at the moment because this guy's, has aspirations of maintaining a position in the Socceroos setup. But he's not receiving the service. He's not able to put away the goals at the moment for Perth Glory. And look, I tell you what, I want to have a quick look at Perth Glory's coming games, like over the next few weeks, for the rest of the month of December. For Perth Glory's matches, they've had some really, really sort of, tough ones in recent weeks. Let's have a look here. So coming up for Perth Glory, they have Jets at home next week. And then Brisbane away. And then Macarthur at home. Those all feel like winnable games. After that as well, on the 3rd of January, they've got West United at home. So I tell you what, Perth Glory have a decent run of games. They'll be looking at Jets away next week, and that's a winnable game. Jets have their own problems as well. Look, Brisbane Roar have struggled this season also. Glory could grab a sneaky result there away to Brisbane, and then at home against Macarthur of Seaside, who are struggling for consistency. Look, I know I'm being a little bit negative here on Perth Glory, which they're struggling at the moment. But maybe there is a glimmer of hope here for the next month or so. I mean, even Western United at home could be a winnable game for them before some tricky games after that. Sydney away, Auckland at home as well for Perth Glory. But look, it's seriously concerning looking at Perth Glory at the moment. Looking at where they are on the ladder as well, after 7 games, no wins, of course, 2 draws and 5 losses. Perth Glory have scored 4 goals in 7 games and conceded a whopping 20 goals. Minus 16 goal difference, which is quite shocking after 7 games. Quite shocking indeed. Marcus here, thanks for joining us here, Marcus, says we probably won't see any fix short term. The signing of Michela to Glory, might only be damage limitation. Thanks for reminding me of that signing. I think that's a great move for Perth Glory, especially bringing in a proven A-League defender in Tommy Michela. This is a guy who was part of Perth Glory's premiership winning season back in 2018-19. He was good at Wanderers over the last couple of years as well, so he's back in the A-League. Great pickup, I think, for Perth. So, look, hopefully he improves their defense. Timmy says Perth will definitely win the next 4 games. I mean, they're a chance. They're versing some lower-ranked teams. Let's just say that. So, 2-0 to Melbourne Victory. We are going through all 6 A-League games. Random Liverpool fan, thanks for joining us on live chat, says Victory need to be more lethal in the final third. Says utter domination today and only 2 goals to show for it. Yeah, perhaps they needed to pick up a couple more. Hey, take their opportunities as we were talking about a little bit earlier. Here we go. We've got another question here from Blizz. What were your thoughts on Jing Reese as a Mariners fan from last season? Of course, now at Melbourne Victory. I liked Jing Reese. I thought he was an exciting player. Made an impact coming off the bench and scored a few goals throughout the season. And can play, a variety of positions, whether that's up top or out wide as well. So I think it was a good pickup for Melbourne Victory, that's for sure. Adam, thanks for joining us in the live chat as well. Says next Sunday, Auckland versus Melbourne City at Amy Park here in Melbourne. Huge game. We will be having a quick look ahead to round 8 fixtures towards the end of the live stream. Thanks everyone for joining us here live on YouTube. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. You can also consider sending through a super chat. It is time to talk about the final game of the season. Central Coast Mariners 2, Sydney FC 1. Stoked for the Mariners to get the win here over the Sky Blues. 2-1, Ali Kowal with a couple goals. Let's talk about it. We've got some comments and questions in the live chat here, and I want to I want to bring up complaining Sydney FC fan supporter in the live chat. Thanks for the question here. It says, Lockie, what are your thoughts on that red card for our goalkeeper? I don't think there was any chance of him scoring. There were two defenders ready to tackle him and block any shot. I see it as a red card. Look, I mean, you're asking a Mariners fan, but I see it as a red card. Harrison Devonish-Mears comes out. Look, the fact is he does not get the ball at all. He completely wipes out Alu Kowal. And yes, the defenders were retreating and were nearby, but I think it's a clear red. I think it's a clear red. Alu Kowal easily could have gotten there first and put it behind. It's to me, it has to be a red. So look, you guys can let me know, is that my biased sort of looking at it through yellow tinted lenses? Is that my biased view, or do you guys agree? I don't know. I thought it was a red. Timmy says red. Ashton says red card all day long. Yeah. Random Liverpool fan also says red as well. John also agrees it was a red. So I'm not biased, okay? Anyway, Alu Kowal with 2 goals in the second half. Great to see Alu Kowal get back on the score sheet. This is a guy who hasn't scored in the A-League this season. As we know, Mariners have been struggling to score in the A-League this season. Heading into this game, only had 3 goals in the season, which was the lowest across the entire competition. Kowal, he's so good in those sort of those aerial duels. That's one of his strengths, Alu Kowal, and some fantastic deliveries to set up those goals. Patrick Lamala made things a bit nervy for the Mariners. 65th minute, he grabbed the goal after a bit of a mess at the back for the Mariners. And I tell you what, Sydney were pushing, dude. Sydney FC were pushing at the end there. Having a look at the stats, Mariners with 13 shots, just a 3 on target. Sydney with 16 shots, 5 on target, so a little bit more there for Sydney. The Sky Blues also had more possession, 60-42, the Sky Blues. It did feel like there were a lot of fouls in this game. Mariners committed 9 fouls. Sydney committed 16 and only managed 1 yellow card. Of course, the 1 red card to Devonish-Mears, but 1 yellow card for 16 fouls. Man, feels a little bit. Mariners had 3 yellow cards for 9 fouls. Anyway, Mariners won the football match in the end. Look, again, Mark Jackson still tweaking things here and there in terms of tactics and personnel. From a Mariners fan point of view, I was very happy to see Docker starting in sort of in a really advanced role alongside Kowal. I don't know if sort of the 2 striker situation was really working for the Mariners. You know, we're playing Edmondson and Kowal together. Last season we had Josh Nisbet playing sort of as a number 10, and that's sort of what Docker was sort of playing today. It just felt like we had, we looked a lot more dangerous going forward with Kazewski and Theo Harris providing some creativity and some pace in the wide areas, that's for sure. Defensively, Mariners put in a really good effort. I thought Nathan Paul was excellent tonight. Storm Rue was very, very good as well. Moragas, Caltech, they all worked hard. Dylan Perech-Curran had to make some good saves as well. Matthew here in the live chat asks, when does the Pizio come back? I saw something, so if someone can verify this, let me know. But because I think I saw it on, I think it was Coast FM. I saw it online somewhere that apparently the Pizio might not be back till March. I could be wrong, but I believe I read that. We haven't really had any concrete information in terms of when we'll see these players back. I think the expectation is that Tap will be out for, I guess, the rest of the season. He's done the ACL. But Sainsbury and DiPizio, the 2 major injuries for Mariners. Hopefully we get those guys back sooner than later. John says, I'm no Sydney fan, but even with 10, they had a lot of quality. Look, yeah, dude, credit to them. It made it really nervy for Mariners fans, especially at the end there. Look, obviously, they had to bring off Waheem. Questionable. I'm not a Sydney FC fan, but if I was, I'd be upset seeing Anis Waheem brought off. I think he's arguably Sydney's best player. Yes, you want to keep Costa and Lolly on there, but Anis Waheem, man, provides so much going forward. He's such a talented player. He was the player who had to make way for Redmayne to come on into goals. But yeah, they set up in an interesting way. Sydney FC, they didn't sort of drop into just like a 4-4-1 sort of formation. It was more like a 4-4-3-2, I guess, for most of that second half for Sydney FC. They had Klamala and Lolly who were, ready to really go for it if they had the opportunity. And Klamala did score that goal in the second half as well. Interesting question from Matthew Newton as well. Who could be signed for the Mariners in January, if anyone? Um, I, I don't know if there's any real key areas. Like I'm feeling pretty happy with the Mariners squad overall, to be honest. But maybe another striker, maybe someone different up top, just to provide some more competition for Koala and Edmondson. The Mariners obviously struggled in that department so far this season. Great to see Koala grab his brace today, but maybe a striker. But look, to be honest, if we didn't sign anyone, I wouldn't be that disappointed. Look, hopefully we can get DePizio back sooner than later. Hopefully Sainsbury returns as well sooner than later. And if we get both of those guys back, I'm pretty happy with how the squad is looking at the moment as well. Ashton says Costa was class, but he needs to score. He had some moments, especially in the first half. We should mention, I mean, Mariners won this game. I thought Sydney were the better side in the first half. Look, Mariners defensively were good, but the Sky Blues were threatening in the first half. That's for sure as well. That's for sure. We would love Ronaldo at the Central Coast as well. Shout out to go if anyone hasn't checked out, we did a Mariners career mode here on the YouTube channel a few months back, and Mariners took on Cristiano Ronaldo's team in our Asian Champions League campaign there, in our FC 25 career mode. All right. So, look, for Central Coast Mariners, man, I think this was an important win. I think this was a crucial 3 points because I want to take a look at the ladder, because if Mariners had lost this game, we're in an interesting position heading into this game with 1 win, three draws, and the 1 loss, where the result of this game really would have sort of dictated how the Mariners season the vibe of the Mariners season so far. Mariners now sit in 7th position, equal on points with Sydney FC. 2 wins, 3 draws, and just the 1 loss. So the 1 loss after 6 games. Whereas if Mariners had lost this game, which could have happened against a good Sydney FC team, we would have seen Mariners with 1 win, 3 draws and 2 losses, and would have been, a few spots down on the ladder, that's for sure. So I think this is a huge win for the Mariners, not only for the situation in the A-League, but obviously the disappointing situation in the Asian Champions League Elite, where Mariners lost 4-0 at home during the week and can now no longer qualify for the knockouts. So sort of all the energy and focus is now on the A-League, of course. And this was an important win, just to sort of give the players, give everyone at the club, a boost. Remind the rest of the league that we are still a force to be reckoned with, despite so many departures at Central Coast Mariners. We're still a very strong team, that's for sure. We've got a few mentions here in regards to Mariners and some potential signings. Both Ashton and Matthew here in the live chat have mentioned Nick D'Agostino from Viking FK in Norway. Hey, if Mariners rocked up in the January transfer window and announced the signing of Nick D'Agostino, I would be stoked. That'd be a great signing. Nick D'Agostino is a fantastic striker and has proven his quality in the A-League at Perth Glory, Brisbane Roar, Melbourne Victory, and it still has aspirations of featuring for the Socceroos in the future. I'm sure of it. From the looks of things, I haven't been following D'Agostino super closely. He hasn't necessarily been playing all that much or scoring all that much over in Norway at the moment. But hey, if we would have signed another striker, I mean, that would be a great pickup. That'd be a great pickup as well. Where was Brandman for Mariners? Injured? Great question, Blues Football. I'm actually not sure. We don't know. Both him and I believe Edmondson, they weren't on the matchday squad, were they? Neither of them were on the bench. So who knows whether they have whether they picked up Knox midweek or who knows? It was just a selection thing as well. Okay, so the ladder is certainly starting to take shape. Auckland FC victory at the top there, as we could see down the bottom. Perth Glory and Brisbane Roar, 2 teams without wins. Speaking of Perth Glory, we've got Nama here in the live chat. Thanks for joining us. Asks, do you think Zrilic needs to be sacked? I think it's too early. I think it is too early. I think we should give Glory a little bit more time. We've got a lot of new players and a new head coach. I think they need a few more games. As we said a bit earlier on, Glory have a favourable run coming up. They've got Jets at home. They've got Macarthur at home and Brisbane Roar away. So then I think they should give Zrilic at least till the new year, at least just till January. Just give them the rest of the month. If Glory don't win one of the next 3 games, full stop, yeah, you might have to look at something different because I think just the way the team's being set up, I don't know, they're getting torn apart so easily. So tactically, they need something different as well, I think. So it is an interesting situation, but we look at, Zrulic at Perth and Zadkovic at Brisbane Roar. And there's pressure mounting on those guys, dude. There's pressure mounting on those guys. I mean, especially Brisbane Roar, who they've got a decent squad. It's not an incredible squad, but they've got a good squad, Brisbane Roar. They've got good players. And they are zero wins, 1 draw, and 5 losses. 5 losses from 6 is not what you want to start the season. Speaking of coaches, Matthew says Besart Berisha wants to coach. Get him in. I tell you what, that would be wholesome to see him back at Brisbane Roar. That would be nice. Look, like if Brisbane did decide to part ways with Zadkovic, that would be kind of nice, like a real full circle moment to see Berisha back in the A-League coaching Brisbane Roar. I mean, Roar fans, how would you feel about that? I think it'd be cool. Look, obviously Berisha has connections to some of the Melbourne clubs with Victory and Western, but I'm sure Berisha has a soft spot for Brisbane Roar. He was, he led them to those incredible championship-winning seasons, those trophies back in the early 2010s. So, I'm sure he'll be looking at Brisbane Roar and thinking, man, I reckon I could do a decent job there. The transfer window is coming up next month. Mark is here in the live chat. It says transfer wish list for Sydney FC: Bailey Wright, Curtis Good, or Alex Grant. Interesting. So you'd like another defender there, Marcus? I've seen some people online questioning sort of the defensive setup there at Sydney FC in terms of like personnel. I think Hayden Matthews and Alex Popovich, 2 very good defenders, 2 younger defenders. So I see there, Marcus, you are mentioning some more experienced players, and maybe that's what Sydney FC need. Maybe all those players you mentioned there, Marcus, Bailey Wright, Curtis Good, Alex Grant, all very good options. Very, very good options. So it's certainly an area of the park that maybe Sydney need to look at for the January transfer window as well. It's coming up next month, of course. We've got Gaming with Saban here. Thanks for joining us in the live chat. Great question. Are Adelaide shocking you after all the losses in terms of losing their players, such as Hiroshi, Gauchi, and Iran Kunda? Yeah. Yes. I was a bit skeptical on Adelaide this season, especially with those losses, as you mentioned there, Saban. That lost some quality players, and I was just questioning where the goals were going to come from them. For Adelaide United, but they've been great this season. They are 6 games into the competition, 4 wins, 2 draws, haven't lost. Only Adelaide and Auckland, 2 teams in the competition who haven't lost a game so far, and they've been playing well. And look, just to talk about Adelaide United and their setup at the moment, they've got a really consistent sort of setup in terms of personnel and just tactically. The squad as well is looking very good. I think Dylan Perez has been a great signing for them. They sort of go, when they're in possession, Adelaide, they go to a back 3 with sort of Kitto, Kikianis, and Breens. And Dylan Perez is basically playing as a right winger, which is where you want it. This is a guy with pace getting down the right-hand side. Zach Clough sort of, shuffles infield as another number 10 alongside Mork there. You got Falami, who's always dangerous, as we know as well. And look, 2 young midfielders who are performing really well at the moment in Alagic and Barnett. Whether it's Archie Goodwin or Jovanovic leading the line, Carl Burt's built a good team, and they're playing very well at the moment as a team overall. So, in terms of whether Adelaide is shocking me, they are. I think they are. I think they've players that they do have certainly stepping up and proving their quality. That is for sure. So, really, really positive start there for the Reds. That's for sure. We've got some great questions coming in here. We're going to stay live for the next little bit or so because we've got some great discussions coming in here as well. Blues Football says Thomas Deng left his Japanese club as well. Could see him definitely moving to an A-League club in Jan. We'd love to see Tommy Deng back in the A-League. Fantastic defender. And he's had a decent time over in he's had a decent time over in Japan, hasn't he? He's got plenty of minutes over there. So who knows? Obviously former Melbourne Victory player. I don't know if Melbourne Victory need another defender. Maybe. They probably wouldn't mind having Deng on their books, but I don't know whether he would slot into the starting lineup, that back 4 is pretty set, I think, for victory. I mean, there's probably a few other teams who would love another defender, maybe someone like Western United, or I mean, we were just talking about Sydney FC a little bit earlier as well. So, what else are we saying here? Ambushed here in the live chat. Thanks for joining us. Says, believe Perth have signed Max Burgess. Is that right? That's the first time hearing of it. I mean, that would be a good pickup for Perth Glory. Max Burgess, he's a player I've always rated pretty highly. We do know about the Michela one that has been announced. Lockie Wales, apparently as well. I mean, that would be an interesting signing to see him back in the A-League. Ambush says here, Amini, Aoyama, Caicedo, and possibly Kunga are on the way out. I mean, the Amini one's interesting. He's obviously hasn't featured for them so far this season. In terms of Caicedo and Kunga, I mean, we've only seen like glimpses of Caicedo, and look, Lewis Kunga has been starting for them, but yeah, a little bit of a tough start to life in the A-League, conceding so many goals as well. Hey, Matthew says, dang to West United. I think it would be a good pickup for them. It would be, wouldn't it? It would be. So, again, looking at the ladder here, it's starting to take shape. Auckland, Victory, Adelaide, City towards the top there. Wellington are in the top 6. Sydney FC there as well. Mariners just behind on goal difference. And then the bottom 7 there. So we've got Mariners in 7th place. And then from there, Macarthur, Wanderers, Western, Newcastle, Perth Glory, and Brisbane Roar at the bottom of the ladder. Of course, Perth Glory and Brisbane Roar without a win at this stage, still searching for the first 3 points of the season. Namar says West City Wanderers need a defender ASAP after Jeong Tae-wook's injury and Simmons out till March. That could, especially with Tom Beadling departing. Yeah, Namar, that's who knows? Maybe they could bring in a Tommy Dean. They might need another defender, that's for sure as well. That's for sure. Ambush here is also mentioned going back to that Max Burgess discussion. Says Burgess makes sense. Zrilic would have a good connection with him and give him more game time. That is true. Of course, Zrilic was an assistant at Sydney FC last year, the current club of Maxi Burgess. Relics. G'day, Relics here in the live chats. How about this? Says, I got tickets to Auckland away because the RBB are doing an away trip. I thought it'd be fun. I thought it would be a fun watch. Now I'm terrified. Yeah, dude. I mean, it's, as we were saying earlier, I think the feeling is, and I think you guys would agree, right? Like, who's going to beat Auckland at home? Like, Auckland FC at Go Media Stadium. It just feels like they're going to win every single week at this moment. So, yeah, it's going to be a tricky place to go. But, hey, it's going to be a great away day, I'm sure. They've been pulling some really, really good numbers, some great crowds. So, yeah, it's great to see. Timmy says Chris Wood to sign for Wellington. Chris Wood's tearing it up in the Premier League at the moment, so I don't know if we'll see him in the A-League anytime soon. But hey, who knows? Maybe in the future. What else are we saying here as well? Thoughts on the B-League next season, the second division? Yes, the second division. Look, as we know, it's been announced that it's not quite like a fully fledged competition. It's sort of a smaller, contained sort of almost like a mini competition going over a couple of months. It's something. So it's great to see it finally sort of getting off the ground, and hopefully this actually does go ahead, and then hopefully it does build and grow from there. It turns into like a full-on season. G'day, Dan. Will Kuol kick on now? Hopefully. I mean, hopefully these 2 goals give him a whole lot of confidence. Obviously, this is a guy who hasn't scored in the A-League this season. But he showed with those 2 goals. You give him the chance. Like, you put in a good delivery and he'll put them away. Like, those were 2 really well-taken goals from Alu Kuol today. So, yeah, he's a player where if you give him the opportunity and if he's, high on confidence, he could well and truly be a big goal scorer for Central Coast Mariners. And if we could just avoid any spamming in the chat, that would be greatly appreciated as well. Nama says, would you take Harrison Delbridge at Central Coast Mariners? Yes, of course. Harrison Delbridge is a very solid centre back. But hey, with Sainsbury returns soon, hopefully, fingers crossed. I don't know if Mariners will need another central defender. That's for sure. So look, Very entertaining round of A-League football. We're going to wrap up shortly, but I do want to have a quick look ahead to the upcoming A-League games for round 8. Western Sydney Wanderers did have the bye this past weekend. But of course, the action continues next weekend as we get closer to Christmas time here. So, round 8 coming up Friday night, Mariners, Adelaide. That'll be a juicy one, of course. Mariners. Tell you what, dude, actually, this will be a fun game to watch, I think, even from a neutral point of view. You've got a Reds team who are performing very well at the moment, haven't lost yet. You've got Mariners coming off a big confidence boosting win against Sydney FC. At home again, consecutive fixtures at home. Mariners are a chance here. And I tell you, if Mariners win this game, that would be huge, dude. That would be absolutely huge. In terms of what we're seeing from Mariners at the moment, I mean, the lineup, from what we saw today, I'd love for us to keep that same lineup. If we can do that, then I reckon we're a chance for sure. But I'll tell you what, Adelaide, a really tricky team at the moment. Timmy says draw for that game. Could well end a draw, that's for sure. We've got 4 games on Saturday next week. It kicks off with Wellington Phoenix hosting Macarthur SC. The times that we're showing here on YouTube are Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So Phoenix hosting Macarthur. Feels like it's going to be a Phoenix win there, but you never know with the Bulls. Sydney FC will host Western United, and you imagine that the Sky Blues will be favourites in that game. Western Sydney Wanderers will play host to Brisbane Roar. The Roar struggling at the moment, and Western Sydney Wanderers, they did win a couple weeks ago against Melbourne City. We remember that they scored 4 goals at home against Newcastle Jets. That should be a winnable game for Western Sydney Wanderers as well. Perth Glory host Newcastle Jets. We talked about that a little bit earlier. But that's shaping up as a big game for Glory. Back at home against the Jets side who are struggling a little bit themselves at the moment as well. Glory have to win that game, it feels like. that feels like a game that really is a crucial one for David's Village. In terms of Melbourne City and Auckland FC, this is the final game of the round. That is shaping up as the game of the round, I think. Melbourne City at home, hosting Auckland FC. We were talking a bit earlier about Auckland and how they're going to go in their away games. They're performing so well at home. And obviously they did get that win in Sydney for Unite round against Macarthur. But they're coming up against a good Melbourne City team here who knows, might be welcoming some players back from injury. Really interesting match. It's been a really, really interesting match. How do you guys think this one will go? Because in terms of prediction, I don't know how I'm going to call that one. You would probably say an Auckland win, but Melbourne City, dude, the way they played on Friday, beating Brisbane 4-1. If they play that same way, they're gonna well and truly challenge Auckland FC. Timmy reckons it's going to be Melbourne City getting the win there. Ashton here as well. Yes, of course. Yes, Melbourne Victory do have the bye. Ashton says, I don't like Victory having a bye before the Melbourne Derby. And yes, as we look ahead in round 9, Melbourne Derby coming up 21st of December. It sort of halts momentum a little bit, doesn't it? It does halt momentum. So it is certainly a tricky one for Melbourne Victory after building some decent form, but you do have to sit this one out before the Derby. So an entertaining round coming up. We will be putting out our predictions video later this week as well. Appreciate you guys tuning in for this live recap of round 7 of the A-League. Any more questions or comments, throw them in the live chat. We've got our predictions coming up. We're going to be bringing back some of the live watch-alongs. We are definitely eyeing that Melbourne Derby as a potential watch-along in a couple of weeks' time. We've got lots of games coming up this weekend, so we'll hopefully do a watch-along for, I'll tell you what, one of those Saturday games, or maybe even, because it's such a big game, we may well do a watch-along for the Sunday Arvo game. We're looking at Melbourne City, Auckland FC, which is, again, we're probably shaping up as game of the round. That's a tricky one to pick at this stage. Auckland favourites, but Melbourne City will certainly challenge them, so we may well have to do a watch along for that one as well. Hey, make sure to hit the like button on the way out. I really appreciate the support. You can also check out this content on podcast platforms, so you can listen on Spotify, other podcast places like that. So you can check out those episodes on a Monday as well. We are well and truly starting to establish things at the moment in the A-League in terms of how the teams are looking, how the The ladder's shaping up, and it has well and truly been an entertaining season up to this point, and will continue to be, I'm sure, for the remainder of the season. Join us this time next week for our Round 8 recap as well. Thanks very much for tuning in, everyone. My name's Lockie. This is Coastward Football. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.